Cactus, which are characterized by their sharp spines and appear to have been constructed solely for the sake of survival, are silently operating as profit-generating machines in arid regions. Thanks to their strong pads and juicy prickly pears, they are able to generate hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. You may be wondering how millions of tons of cactus are harvested and processed each year. But have you ever given it any thought? Under the scorching heat, with temperatures soaring above 40 degrees Celsius, where the land splits apart and the winds seem like fire, cactus plants defiantly rise from the stony, parched earth. During the harvest season, thick, fleshy pads and prickly pears that are loaded with water are collected and sent directly to processing facilities. They are then turned into bottles of juice or even liquor. This is accomplished through the use of advanced production processes. Cactus has come a long way from being a dust-covered pariah to being a desert superfood. Today, we want you to join us as we unravel this intriguing journey. Everything is going to be disclosed in this video. This spiky plant is considered to be one of the nation's strategic crops, and Mexico is the country that leads the world in production of cacti, with hundreds of thousands of tons gathered each year. Welcome to Mexico, the country that is considered to be the homeland of the cactus. Furthermore, the cactus is not only an enduring cultural emblem, but it also provides millions of people with an essential supply of food, industrial resources, and a means of subsistence. In Mexico, the prickly pear sector alone generates more than $100 million in revenue each year. Its flesh is sweet and refreshing, with a flavor that is a combination of watermelon, pear, and kiwi. It is abundant in vitamin C, filled with minerals, and low in sugar, which makes it an ideal fruit for diabetics and earns it a place among the most promising superfruits in the world. In light of the fact that it is resistant to drought, simple to cultivate, and has a high economic value, the prickly pear is becoming increasingly recognized as an essential component of the future of sustainable agriculture. To begin, where exactly does this adventure start? Come along with us as we travel across the country where the cactus has found a remarkable way to survive, thanks to the combination of the scorching sun and the stony soil. The process of selecting seeds is the first step in anything, and although it may appear to be a straightforward step, it is actually an essential phase for anyone who wants to have a plentiful harvest. It is never a matter of luck when it comes to selecting the appropriate type in the semi-arid parts of Mexico, where extremely high temperatures are a regular part of life. Farmers pay close attention to the mother plants that were grown over the previous seasons. They are seeking for cactus bushes that cultivate vigorously, are resistant to pests, have thick pads, and produce fruit that is sweet. In this way, they choose mature pads that are old but have not yet developed a woody appearance. Following this, the pads are removed and allowed to dry for a few days. This allows the cut to heal and reduces the likelihood of rot occurring prior to the replanting of the plant. The cactus nopal, in contrast to the majority of crops, is not propagated through seed but rather through vegetative reproduction. A single delicious pad has the potential to give rise to a new generation. Not only is this a time-honored technique, but it is also the means by which people have acquired the ability to be patient, to comprehend the soil and the plant, and to silently plant the conviction that life will eventually return into dry soil. Farmers proceed to the next critical phase, which is preparing the soil, which is the foundation that will nourish an entire new generation under the sun and wind. Once the planting pads are ready, farmers continue on to the next process. Even though cacti are known for their ability to withstand dryness, the soil still has to be tilled to a depth of 20 to 30 centimeters in order to break up layers that have become compacted and to make room for young roots to spread out freely. The soil is then enriched with old manure, which is commonly derived from cows or chickens, in order to assist in the retention of moisture. To achieve a pH balance in regions that have soils that are either acidic or saline, rice, straw, ash, and lime are utilized. They do not make any attempts to influence the fertility of the land. Rather than that, they only establish conditions that are at the appropriate level, sufficient for the plant to establish a foothold, and sufficient for the roots to locate water in the event of a drought. Mainly due to the fact that this restriction brings about resilience, the kind of resilience that enables new life to take root and become stronger. Farmers start the planting procedure once the soil has been tilled properly, and the planting pads have been dried to the point where they are able to permanently seal the cut ends, so preventing rot while maintaining the life of the plant. Each pad is positioned at an angle of around 60 degrees and buried between 5 and 10 centimeters deep in the soil that has been disturbed. Just the right amount of depth is required to ensure that the base is stable, while also enabling young roots to readily anchor themselves and expand gradually. Growers are able to resist the impulse to water the pads immediately as they begin to settle into the soil and experience the beginnings of life within them. A natural response that assists the plant in establishing a stronger grip in difficult situations is the soil being left dry for the first 2 weeks. This encourages the roots to stretch deeper in quest of moisture that is buried in lower layers. The process of irrigation does not start until new shoots start to sprout, which are the first tiny signs of life from the plant. The amount of water that is applied is measured out, and it is just enough to wet the soil without making the plant dependent on any outside resource. When it comes to cacti, it is not the quantity of water that is provided that is important. Rather, it is the timing of the water's arrival that is crucial. This is a signal that the young plant is prepared to flourish in a harsh and dry environment. When the dry season lasts for a sufficient amount of time, and the sun has burnt the margins of each cactus pad to a golden hue, the prickly pears begin to ripen. They change from green to amber, then to deep crimson, and they become swelled as if they have gathered the desert sunlight beneath their delicate skins. This event signals the beginning of the first harvest, which is a work that must be carried out with care and caution due to the fact that these fruits are both fragile and covered in spines that are almost invisible and behave like hair. The harvesting process often takes place in the wee hours of the morning, around the time that the sun has already begun to illuminate the desert. The farmers protect themselves by donning long sleeves, gloves, and hats with wide brims. They move cautiously amid rows of prickly plants while wearing these protective gear. They carefully twist each fruit with steel tongs or curved knives, removing it from the pad with a soft motion. They take care not to tear the thin skin or release the ultrafine spines that can become embedded deep under the skin and cause inflammation for a number of hours. After each fruit has been harvested, it is carefully placed into bamboo baskets or plastic tubs that are kept nearby. This makes it simple to go along the rows while simultaneously reducing the amount of touch and contact that occurs. Farmers return to a routine that is familiar to them once the last of the prickly pears have been collected. They then harvest the nopal pads, which are the fragile green stalks that are frequently referred to as the lungs of the cactus. Due to the fact that even a tiny miscut might cause damage to the mother plant and disrupt its entire growth cycle, a procedure that appears to be straightforward will actually require a great deal of precision. It is imperative that the pads used are neither too old or too woody. They should still have a smooth surface, a thickness that is uniform throughout, and a hint of that trademark jade green color. A rapid yet delicate cut is made close to the root by the worker using a knife that is razor sharp. The worker takes care to avoid the bud eyes, which are tiny growth spots where even a minor scratch can prevent new shoots from emerging. It is imperative that each and every cut be clean and precise, as if the cutter is aware of the biological rhythm that is functioning behind those layers of spines. New pads appear approximately once every 7 to 10 days, and the cycle, which is similar to a continuous breath across the arid landscape, continues to repeat itself. The harvesting process is currently being carried out by semi-automated equipment on larger farms. These machines may reach speeds of up to 500 to 700 kilos per hour, making them comparable to combined harvesters used in dry terrain. On the other hand, not every field is level, and not every cactus appears to be growing in rows. In steep slopes, where the dirt cracks like dried skin and plants grow wild, each cut is still entrusted to human hands. When it comes to cutting, technique, intuition, and years of experience preserve something that no machine can replicate: the art of cutting to keep life alive. Immediately following the harvest, the cactus pads and fruits are carefully placed into plastic containers that provide ventilation and are then delivered to the processing plant as swiftly as possible. Due to the fact that even a short period of time spent in the sun can substantially alter the quality of the product, it is imperative that the transportation process be finished within the same day. This is to avoid the sun from drying up the produce or allowing the sap to ferment. When dealing with such perishable crops, it is essential to operate quickly and carefully in order to maintain their freshness. The crates are unloaded at the processing facility, either by hand or with the assistance of small forklifts, and then they are put in batches in the staging area in an orderly fashion. As the fruit moves from the harsh sun to the shade, the space is cool, shaded, and has clean flooring, all of which contribute to a reduction in the amount of temperature shock that occurs. After that, each pad is sorted by hand, washed with cold water, gently despined, and let to drain for approximately half an hour. Pads that are of a quality that is up to par are packaged in accordance with their intended use, with full pads being packaged for restaurants and sliced pieces being packaged for stores. A traceability label is affixed to each and every box, and it is kept in cold rooms at temperatures ranging from 4 to 8 degrees Celsius. These temperatures are low enough to maintain the pad's natural flavor, while also preserving the pad's brilliant green color. During the dry season, nopal pads that do not reach commercial criteria are not only put aside for a different use, but they also provide a green source of nourishment for livestock, particularly cattle and buffalo. Following the procedures of washing and despinding, the pads are then placed into specialized shredders, where they are either cut into strips measuring between 2 and 4 centimeters or ground into a soft, wet mash that is simple to digest. Chopped straw, sugarcane pulp, or dried grass is frequently mixed in at larger farms in order to achieve a more balanced nutrient profile and to enhance the amount of roughage. Cactus pads may be processed by modern machinery at a rate of 1 to 1.5 tons per hour, which is an astonishing output when one considers that in many semi-arid regions, this is the primary source of feed that makes it possible for cattle to survive the dry season. Nopal, which has a water content of up to 90% and is abundant in potassium, calcium, and natural mucilage, assists animals in maintaining proper hydration, enhances digestion, and significantly lessens the effects of heat stress. Nopal transforms into a living water tank for animals in regions that are so hot and dry that even grass begins to wither. It provides herds with sustenance and water without requiring even a single drop of precipitation. As if they had just returned from a challenging voyage, the prickly pears are now peacefully resting in crates after making the short trek from the field to the facility. Although their skins continue to be full and vivid, they are covered in dust and lined with fine spines. These spines are so fragile that even a single touch could cause an unseen cloud of needles to be released, which are as sharp as the thoughts of the desert. During the process of cleaning this natural armor, the fruits are passed through gentle brushes while spinning gently under cool water. As they do so, each spine is removed, much like the final grain of sand that is blown away by the influence of the wind. In addition to being calibrated by machines, everything is calibrated by experience. This includes the water pressure, the rotation speed, and the tilt of the conveyor belt. As a result of the fact that the skin of the prickly pear is just as delicate as the last breath of ripeness on the surface of the fruit. It is possible for a single machine to process between 400 and 600 kilograms of fruit in an hour on large fields. But speed is never valued over precision, because even the smallest scratch can start the fruit's decline within hours. This is why speed is never prioritized over precision. Prickly pears are ready to move on to the final stage of their production, which is packaging. Once the dust and fine spines have been picked off, the workers select the fruit using both their eyes and their hands, not just to select the most appealing ones, but also to guarantee that they are perfectly ripe and firm. As a guarantee of quality, fruits that are up to par are meticulously placed in vented trays or mesh bags, and they are branded with the date they were packed and the country from which they originated. Last but not least, they are put into cold storage at temperatures ranging from 8 to 10 degrees Celsius in order to maintain their flavor and freshness until they reach the hands of the consumer. The ripe, succulent fruits of prickly pears are delivered to processing plants, where they continue their metamorphosis into a variety of high-value goods. In addition to the daily fresh consumption of prickly pears, a considerable amount of fruit is shipped to processing plants. The cactus industry, particularly the cultivation and processing of prickly pear and nopal, represents one of the most remarkable and underappreciated models of sustainable agriculture in arid and semi-arid regions. What stands out to me is not only the plant's resilience and ecological adaptability, but also the intelligence of the systems built around it, rooted in traditional knowledge and now increasingly enhanced by technology. Cactus farming demonstrates that productivity does not need to be synonymous with resource depletion. In fact, by working with the land rather than against it, farmers are able to cultivate a crop that demands little water, restores degraded soils, and delivers both economic and nutritional value. However, in order to fully realize its potential, I believe two key areas require greater investment: value chain development and international market access. While local farmers have mastered the art of cultivation and post-harvest handling, more support is needed to scale up processing infrastructure and branding for global consumers, especially in the wellness and functional food sectors. Governments and private sectors alike should also promote cactus-based animal feed as a strategic buffer against climate-driven feed shortages. Ultimately, cactus is more than a survival crop. It is a symbol of agricultural intelligence in the face of adversity, and deserves greater attention in global conversations on food security and climate resilience.